Iran wants nuclear weapons. That's a fact. Most countries want nuclear weapons. It seems to be the only way to get the world to respect you. You think the world would put up with this guy's shenanigans if he didn't have nuclear capability? I don't think so. And Muammar Gaddafi was quick to give up his nuclear capability after America invaded Afghanistan and then Iraq. He was trying to save his own neck. It didn't work. In fact, it made him a target. So it makes some sense that Iran would want nuclear weapons. But when the man in charge of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, wants to destroy Israel, you can understand why Israel and friends of Israel don't want him to get that capability. That is why the world imposed tough economic sanctions on Iran, and they are working. It's what brought Iran to the negotiating table with the United States, France, Great Britain, Russia, and China. By the way, all of those countries I just mentioned have nuclear weapons, and so does Israel. You'll remember that Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the United States Congress and blasted the negotiations, but it is troubling that he seems to want to lead the world into war. And that is why Americans, by a wide margin, 2-1, are in favor of the talks, are in favor of lifting the sanctions if Iran gives up its nuclear weapons program. Americans, it seems, are just weary of war and its costs. But we should be careful of what we wish for. Saudi Arabia right now is attacking Iranian-backed rebels in Yemen and Syria. They are worried about the cozier relationship between the United States and Iran, and so Saudi Arabia now wants nuclear weapons too. So why are we turning our back on our allies to help our enemy, an enemy that recently was helping to kill American troops in Iraq and Afghanistan? Number one, to prevent war, and number two, to gain an ally in our fight against ISIS, who we fear even more. And that's why we're talking to Syria too, because the enemy of our enemy is our friend. Look, I have no problem talking with anyone, even our enemies, as long as it's from a position of strength and we do not cave. But let me remind you of one last thing. We've been down this road once before. We entered into a similar nuclear arms agreement with Saddam Hussein in Iraq, and eventually he refused UN inspectors access. The rest, as they say, is history. And history, as they say, is prologue. We'll have to see if we learned the lesson. I'm Larry Mendte. See you again next week.